We shall never surrender.
One small step for man.
I have a dream. Ask not what your country can do for you.
What's the status quo of your favorite quote? Professor Buzzkill explains all on Quote or No Quote.
That's right, it's your favorite professor here with Quote or No Quote, and I gotta tell you, Buzzkillers, I've been getting nostalgic lately, especially nostalgic for the 1970s. Lots of important things happened in that decade, including the political coming of age of yours truly. Now, that crucial development in world history was only surpassed by things like the high point of the women's rights movement. And those two great events came together in that other late 60s and early 70s innovation, the t-shirt with writing on it. You see, Buzzkillers, t-shirts with sayings on them have been so common for so long that it's difficult for us to remember a time when they didn't exist. But when I was a little buzzling, kids wore plain white t-shirts or solid color collarless shirts, which sometimes had stripes. Think about Leave It to Beaver. That's what it was like. But the 60s pop art movement influence on advertising pretty quickly resulted in things like white t-shirts with, for instance, the Coca-Cola logo or snappy written sayings printed on them. The number of different images and different sayings or phrases printed on t-shirts exploded in the early 70s. And one of the most striking was the t-shirt from the women's rights movement which said, "A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle." Most famously worn by the feminist champion Gloria Steinem. All the with it kids love these kinds of sayings. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle was philosophical in a way. It was also funny, and it was also hip. And you won't be surprised to learn that Gloria Steinem gets credit for coining the saying, but it has a much older pedigree. In print anyway, the concept started in 1859. A humorous piece in Hutchings Illustrated California Magazine, written by Lancelot Gossenberry Esquire, Poet Laureate, posed the question, what is a bachelor? And it answered that question with a list of things like a ship without a sail and a fish without a tail, implying that a man needs a woman to be a complete and functioning entity. From there, the phrase was off and running. It continued as the construction, quote, a man without a woman is like, and was answered by things like a collar without a button and a shirt without a tail. It was even turned into a popular song in 1909. By 1958, it had been turned around somewhat by religious skeptics. The phrase, a man without faith is like a fish without a bicycle, first appeared in the Swarthmore College magazine Phoenix in April 1958. Throughout the 1960s, if you saw the phrase at all, you would have seen it as a man without a woman is like a fish without a bicycle. But by 1970, an Australian university student, Irina Dunn, turned the phrase around. She wrote, "A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle," on the doors of 2 public toilet stalls in Sydney. It quickly became adopted as one of the most witty and direct expressions of 1970s feminism. And Gloria Steinem has long credited Irina Dunn as the genius who turned a worn old phrase into a pithy political statement. Now there you have it, Buzzkillers. In one episode, I was able to tie 2 of my favorite things into one quote or no quote show. Memories of my childhood and the wonderful wittiness of Australians. Talk to you next week.